To take this time to introduce myself. My name is Isaac Blood, and I will be your spooky conductor for this evening. You may recognize me, I am very famous. I recently appeared on Crime Watch. But enough of me. Your driver is a terrible human being. Vile, reprehensible, and fresh out of prison. Merely hearing his name is enough to strike fear into anyone he meets. His name is Bob. Everyone shout hello to Bob. He promises me he's only had 13 pints of Guinness this evening, so we should be okay. Yes, Bob, don't kill us. He does have reason to celebrate, however. He has just received his professional driving license. Round of applause for Bob. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are sat facing forward this evening and I say look left, you look left. If I say look right, you look right. If you're one of those weirdos that's decided to sit backwards or God forbid sideways, you'll have to figure it out for yourselves. I'll start off nice and easy for you. The bridge we are currently going over is called Lendl Bridge. There have been many bridges on this site over the years. The original was built in 1860, which didn't last very long. It collapsed during construction, killing 5 workmen. Those workmen can often be heard cheering and laughing on a calm night when there is nobody around, which makes absolutely no sense, because getting crushed by a giant bridge doesn't sound like something to laugh about. And how can anyone hear them if there is no one around? Coming up shortly on the left is the Yorkshire Museum Gardens. Its site used to house St Mary's Abbey. The Abbey was closed in... Oh, hang on, bit of technical difficulty here. Rather not talk about it. Boy, you talk about these things, so where's this to get? Okay, to your left is the Yorkshire Museum Gardens. Not sure what's going on there. That's a little bit dubious. What was that? Did everyone see that? Okay, that's truly terrifying. Not going to lie. Oh, there she is again. Okay, everybody just stay calm. Okay, everything's fine. Just right. And we're back. As I was saying, the Yorkshire Museum Gardens, which we just passed. Its site used to house St Mary's Abbey. The Abbey was closed in the 1500s under the reign of King Henry VIII, and much of the stonework was removed in the 1700s. It now makes a lovely place for students to go day drinking. Any students on board? Good. The Yorkshire Museum Gardens is said to be haunted by a man who was fired for showing up drunk. He was thrown into homelessness and will be seen walking around the gardens, begging, shaking a tin can of coins. People can still hear those coins approaching them to this day. They are met by a figure wearing a long black cloak. He was an abbot. He wears black. Can you guess what we called him? The Black Abbot, of course we did. We are so good at naming things here in York. Over to your right is the York Theatre Royal. Its architecture used to house St Leonard's Hospital, which at the time was run by nuns. But one nun was caught doing the one thing a nun should never do. I believe the kids call it Netflix and chill. But she didn't just do it once or twice. She made quite the habit of it. My kind of lady. So she had to be punished. She was tied up to a wall, chained by her neck, wrists and ankles. Oh, she thought she was in for a jolly good time. Little did she know her fate was sealed. They built another wall inches away from her face, brick by brick. She screamed for days, until eventually she finally suffocated between the 2 walls. That wall is still in the Theatre Royal to this day. It forms part of the male dressing room, a room where people are known to be very oppressed and cold. People can hear the scrapings of fingernails coming from within the wall itself. At the Ghostbusters, this story has often been linked to a ghost that has been seen many times wandering the upper circle. She has been seen by actors, theatre practitioners, and other people that don't have proper jobs. She is a lady. She wears grey. Can you guess what we called her?
The Grey Lady.
The Grey Lady, of course we did. We are so good at naming things here in York. Ahead of us now is something truly terrifying, truly evil. It is the creator of awkward silences. It's called traffic lights. And there was your awkward silence, otherwise known as 5 seconds of your life you'll never get back. The street we're heading on to now is called Gillygate. Gillygate was named after St Giles Church, which no longer exists. The church dated back at least to the 1100s, but was closed during the reign of King Henry VIII and demolished in 1547. Coming up shortly, I'll point it out to you, is a Salvation Army building where St. Giles Church used to reside, and the graveyard behind is still in place. In fact, it used to extend onto the road we're currently on. There are many churches in York, but not many graveyards. That's because we had to pave over them to make space. In York, you're never more than a few metres away from dead bodies. In fact, the whole street of Gillygate used to be one huge plague pit. And if you look to your left, you will see the Salvation Army building. As I was saying, the whole street of Gillygate used to be used as a huge plague pit, used to dump dead bodies when the Black Death struck York between 1603 and 1605, killing 3,500 people in York, 1/3 of the population. Aren't we lucky that in the 21st century we don't have to worry about disease spreading through the country, and we're forced to stay at home and watch Tiger King on Netflix? Then you stopped watching it because it was boring. You get yourself a lovely girlfriend between the lockdowns, so you have to watch it again, and then she leaves you. Over to the right, you may see some of York City walls. Don't worry if you miss them, we'll be seeing them again and again and again. They are a Grade 1 listed building because the Romans built the originals. Not the ones you see before you today. They were built in the 12th century. Beyond the walls, you'll see the magnificent building, the York Minster. There's been a church on the site of the Minster since the year 600, and the current structure took 250 years to build. But you'd be forgiven for thinking it wasn't finished, considering it's always covered in bloody scaffolding. A building that old and its surrounding buildings have many ghost stories, one of which I'll tell you about this evening. 2, depending on traffic. Dean Gale, he was a caretaker of the Minster. He really loved his job. He spent all of his spare time there. He even took his daily exercise by walking up the 275 steps of the Minster. But in his old age, he was getting a bit confused, so he had to count the steps on the way up, so he knew exactly how many to walk back down again. But one day in 1702, he forgot to count the steps, and so he slipped and fell from the highest of heights to the lowest of lows. And as if this story couldn't get any more horrific, as he fell from the tower, he composed the EastEnders theme tune! So many people who work in the Minster have seen the spirit who they believe to be Dean Gale. It's happened so many times that everyone who works in the Minster believes in him. So much so, for every sermon, every celebration, there is a pew left out for Mr. Dean Gale. He was the same age as my granny when he died. Really gets you thinking. I really love my granny. I get up every morning, go to her room, get her dressed, carry her downstairs, so she can make me breakfast. Yum. Fun fact about my granny, she has a whole world tattooed on her back. Say what you like about her, you know where you stand with her. Here we are at Foss Bank, where we follow the line of the River Foss, the smaller of the two rivers in York, and much less foldable. This river is much more interesting than the Ouse, because it is where we did the witch trials. That's right, folks, the witch trials. Women who are... Don't get control of this black bolt! Oh, for God's sake! So sorry, ladies and gents, what 13 pints of Guinness does you, I'm afraid. What's going on with the television? What's on earth? Ow, on the back! I never see that! Right, everyone just stay calm. I got this under control. Stop panicking! Am I doing... Oh, she's coming up the stairs. Stop panicking! Am I doing all this time? I've got this under control! Right, okay. Bob, right, that's it. I'm coming upstairs. I can't do it down here. I won't. I'm coming up. Upstairs, I'm coming up. Nobody fart. Over to the right, you will see a Sainsbury's. There is a story to this Sainsbury's. When they were building the multi-story car park, they unearthed a huge burial ground. You see, this whole area used to be home to the York Jewish community, so they had dug up a Jewish cemetery. Bodies were laid to rest here from around 1177. They excavated 500 skeletons, but estimated that there were thousands more. They were later reburied, and this reburial was proceeded over the chief rabbi, who travelled all the way to York and said, "Seal them forever. May they be disturbed no more." Right, Bob, let's get a move on. So sorry, ladies and gents. Just checking that everyone is safe and sound. Obviously, I'm fine.
I'm surprised this didn't fly or tip over.
Downstairs, give me a wave if you're all okay. Lovely. Upstairs, give me a whoop whoop if you're all okay. Okay, someone's died upstairs, never mind. And the foot cam, still not sure why we have that one. Ah, seems everything is perfectly normal. Lovely, 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 lovely. Ooh, it appears we've made a friend. Must be running around those dead bodies. Maybe he's playing hide and squeak. Ha ha. Now, where was I before I was rudely interrupted by Margaret? I mean, what? Ah, yes, the witch trials. Women who were accused of witchcraft were thrown into the River Foss on a ducking stool. If they were pulled out and they were alive, it was assumed that they were a witch. If this happened, they were taken to Knavesmart and hung. However, if they were pulled out and they were dead, obviously they were innocent. And so they were set free and buried. A very fair system, I think you'll agree. I imagine you're wondering, where did all the city walls go? Well, you see, there was no need for the walls to be continued here, for this used to be the King's Fish Pond. In 1068, William the Conqueror tried to create a moat around York Castle by damming the River Foss. It didn't work. It just caused large-scale flooding in this area, but the king seemed to like it, and he called it the King's Fish Pond. He hired 2 gatekeepers to ensure that no one stole the fish. If you stole 1 fish, you'd have a hand cut off. If you stole 2 fish, you'd have 2 hands cut off. 3 fish, well, let's just say you can say goodbye to your rod and tackle. Very efficient, one might say. Coming up on your right is St. Cuthbert's Church, built in the 1430s. You can see a small door to the right side of the church. This is known as the Devil's Door. It was used during christenings to allow the devil to escape. The belief was that the devil resides in an unbaptized child's soul, so during the baptism, the devil was driven out through the door. Coming up on the left now is a Black Swan Inn, one of the oldest alehouses in York. It also claims to be the most haunted pub in York. At the Ghostbusters Tours, we believe it is merely one of the most haunted. The most haunted will appear later. We're not so far from the shambles now, so get ready to hear some spooky tales. Oh, Bob, come on, give it a rest. We've had enough theatrics for one day. Well, do you know what? As long as the televisions are still... What's happening to the televisions? Right, everyone just stay calm. There'll be no tacky jump scares. There'll be no loud noises. Nothing is about to crawl out of those televisions, I hope. Bob, oh farts. Right, downstairs, stay where you are, and go to deliver a message to upstairs. Hello upstairs. The bus has broken down. This was not supposed to happen. This has never happened before. I'm now going to have to conduct an optional 10-minute walking section. Stay where you are for now, remember where you're sat, have a game of hide and squeak. I'm going to deliver the same message to downstairs. Hello downstairs.